Good morning and welcome to the page and our chat this morning with Kezia. I hope I've got your name right there. I'm doing my best to pronounce it right. Who owns and runs the Solasta Cafe over in Hania Prefecture. And we're going to be talking this morning about your journey, Kezia, into moving to Crete and then obviously to starting a business over there, which I know is something that lots of people have desires and aspirations to do in their lives, especially if they've got a passion for Crete. So it's fantastic that you've joined us. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and being willing to talk about those things with us today, and hopefully shed a little bit of light on that for people. To everyone watching this morning, thanks for joining. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks ever so much for coming. To everyone watching this morning, please do get involved. Feel free to say hello, and also if you've got a question that you'd like to ask, then by all means comment that, and we'll try and squeeze that into the chat this morning for you. So I guess the first thing to ask this morning, because there is how are you? How are you doing? Are you well? How's lockdown been treating you?
I'm fine, I'm good, and as I said earlier, I'm quite enjoying the break from my daily grind of running the cafe. I'm enjoying the sunshine, although it rained yesterday. Yes, I'm fine, I'm good.
Right,
I'm looking
fantastic.
forward to Rio. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think we're all eager, and I guess we're all eager and desperate for a little bit of normality again, so we can try and start getting our lives back into some sort of order. It's a tricky time for everybody, an uncertain time, and yeah, are you legally allowed to open your cafe again at some point in the near future? Is there a law or some kind of date that allows you to do that at some point?
Yes. From the 1st of June, we're allowed,
Right.
but this could change, so it's very much a case on a day-to-day basis. New decisions being made. So far the first, but I think this is outside areas only. So it's a little bit complicated for me because I don't have a lot of outdoor space. My cafe is quite large inside. It reminds me of the TARDIS, Doctor Who's TARDIS. It looks like a small building outside, and then you come in and it opens up in high ceilings and so on. But I do have some space outside, so certainly I can open up on the 1st, and looking forward to people coming again in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, people, that seems like a strange commodity at the minute, isn't it? People and interaction with people. It's so weird at the minute.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I guess the first question that I want to ask you is when did you first go to Crete, and what took you there?
I think I always had a kind of fascination for Crete, and I grew up on the island of Skye, and I watched Zorba the Greek when I was 10 and loved it. I was so touched by it, and although it's quite a hard film, it's quite a tough movie, but it's quite true, I think, still in many cases of Crete, of the Cretan people. I was very touched by it, and somehow I wanted to always go there. So it was the very first holiday that I took abroad. I was quite old then. I was 29, my first flight abroad, and I chose to come to Crete. And I just remember the aeroplane doors opening and this wall of heat hitting me and going, my God, I love it here. And it only got better for me. I was only there a week the first time, and I think it was the last week in April, so not excessively hot, but enough to make me really fall in love with the warmth and the light and so on. And also it's another island. I'm an islander, so it kind of makes sense for me. I feel comfortable on an island. I have both. I have the mountains, I have the ocean, so this is good. So yeah, I was waiting for my daughter to grow up, and when she grew up, I was a single parent, and when she grew up, then I slowly put things in place that I could move here. And in fact, I had a kind of epiphany halfway through a second interview for a new youth work job that I was applying for. And I was, I think, one question away from being offered the job. And suddenly I went, I don't want the job, I want to move to Greece. And they were a bit shocked, but they understood and wished me well. And yeah, so actually I left the UK in 2005. I'd originally moved to Lesbos to help a friend of a friend to open up a business there. And then I moved to Munich for 2.5 years, and which was lovely, but I always ultimately wanted to come here. So then I found my way here. So I've been here 10 years now. Yeah, so this is how I
Fantastic.
came.
Fantastic. What
Thank
a
you.
journey. That's quite a journey you just described there. Yeah, fantastic. Just a couple of quick bits. Susan, good morning to you. You're joining us live. Lena as well, hello. Thanks for joining us this morning, and Dejan as well. Please feel free to say hello, comment in and say hi. And if you've got a question, then obviously fire it in and we'll try and answer it for you. So at some point along that journey, Kezia, you make the decision to make Crete your permanent home. How did you go about that? Tell us how that came about and how you went about it, and what challenges obviously you had along that way as well.
Well, I kind of felt that I didn't want to have one foot in the UK and one foot here, because I couldn't imagine how this would work. I don't have a background where I have lots of money behind me. I did own my own house, but I knew that this wasn't something that I would be able to rely on. So I knew that I would have to sell the house to originally bring me over to Greece in the first instance. Yeah, I just kind of did it. And I think it's just a case of, follow your dream and take the first step and see where that takes you. And I think it's a lot easier now than when I first came over, when I first left the UK. There's much more now on the internet and over Facebook and things like this, for example. There was very little information. And for example, when I moved to Lesbos, I didn't know a soul. I didn't know anyone. And I moved with a removal lorry with all my furniture. And kind of landed there for some time. And in that time, I got a dog and I got a horse, and I went off to Australia for 3 months. I loved that too. And yeah, I think this was a process for me. Just always finding. I didn't work here apart from 1 year when I did Airbnb, because I had a very pretty. I was renting a very pretty house, and I got permission to rent one room out. So I did this, and I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the cooking aspect of it, and got very good reviews for the food, for the breakfast that I was creating. And I love interior design things and so on. So this fitted in quite well to my life. But other than that, I was actually going to work in Munich every summer for several weeks, where it's actually closed this year, unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, but it's called The Tent, Munich, and it's an outdoor hostel, and it's organic food, and I have wonderful colleagues there and so on. But I've not worked there since I've been open here. So yeah, this is how how I've managed here. So I've taken a leap of faith that things will work here. And so far, okay, it's slow. The cafe's in a little village, Litsarda, so people are slowly getting to know me, and my first winter was very quiet, and I realized in the summer people were coming up to me and I was saying, new customer, nice to meet you, etc. And they would tell me that they'd heard about the cafe during the winter, but nobody would give them the details. And I said, well, why not? And apparently people wanted to keep it for themselves. So I was like, that won't help my business, but I'll take it as a compliment. Thank you. Tell everyone I'm here. So yeah, sorry, I'm digressing a little bit. What was
No,
your
no,
original
no, no,
question?
no. Just talking about your move there, and just asking if you came across any obstacles along that way. Was anything, what was the challenge of doing that? Was it easy? Was it simple?
It's both. It's like some things seem to work out really well. Other things are quite complex. It's I don't speak Greek. A little, tiny, polylegal. So I really should learn more. But I'm British, and it's difficult for us British somehow. But really, I should. It's disgraceful that I don't. Financially, it's not easy here. Yeah, finding the premises and things like this. It took me time to find this. I had been looking for several years, in fact, to find the right premises that I wanted to set up to create the cafe with, and unfortunately, most properties that I found didn't have the papers because they hadn't been open for a long time. Like this cafe, for example, it was built in 1903 by my owner's grandfather, my landlord's grandfather. And then they closed it in 1957. So it had no papers, and I was incredibly lucky. I have a very good friend, Stelios, who's Greek, obviously, who and one of his employees, who's a civil engineer, who did all my paperwork. So for most people, this is really complex situation. But for me, it was a miracle, and I got my papers in like 2 weeks. I was really,
Wow.
even in the office, they're like, it's not possible. And I said, well, it seems to be. I've got them. So this was a really good sign for me. But yes, it's really starting from scratch in a business like this, in premises like this. It wasn't the easiest option, but it gave me the the allowance to create what I wanted from scratch, which is
Yeah.
harder, but I'm really stubborn. I do it my way. And I've also got a background in catering and food, doing desserts for restaurants in Scotland, working in cafes, working in restaurants, also in youth work, also in mental health, psychiatric services, and so on. So it's an amalgamation that works in running your own business somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. I mean, I think, certainly when you talk to people about, the leap you've made, you make it sound pleasingly simple, Kezia, which is great. And just on a little side note, Babs, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to comment or ask us a question, say hi, and comment below if you feel the need to. But yeah, often with the stories like this, or people that are coming, and to be fair, because even Greek people, when you talk to them about starting a business, they'll tell you at times that it's an absolute administrational nightmare to get all the bits of paper that you need in order to do so. So it sounds like you were fortunate with the circumstances that you found yourself in that you found the right people around you to help through that forest of administration, as it were.
Yes, absolutely. And to be honest, I'm not sure. I mean, I am legal, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came through the door and said, "Where are your paper? Such and such a paper," and I'd be like, "Huh? What papers?" This is always possible here. So
Yeah,
it's really about
absolutely.
flexible and expecting the unexpected here. But ultimately, I don't think it was so complicated. It's really just. I've had people in the village coming up to me and saying, "You're very brave. You're very brave. You're a woman on your own, running a business in a Cretan village, and kudos to you." And I think, "Oh, okay, thank you, sweet." Yeah, I wanted to do it, and
Go on, sorry. Carry on. I interrupted you. Apologies.
I've forgotten now. Sorry, carry on.
I was going to ask you that you mentioned when you were explaining about the building that your cafe is trading from. Are you right? Am I right in saying that hadn't actually been used then since the 50s? Had it been disused for all that time?
When I found the cafe, I just peered through the window, and it was so dusty, but I could see some light coming through from a window. So now there's a window at the back, so I can see this. But it was really just used as an apotheke since the 50s. An apotheke is a storage space. So eventually, it took me 2 or 3 months. I tracked down the owner, who lives in the village, but anyway, I found out who owns it, and well, the father lives in the village. The owner actually lives in Athens now, and he's a very good landlord. And it took some time, I think, to for him to agree to rent it to me. He was really concerned that it's a Greek village, Cretan village. He was worried that Cretans would come with their guns and sit and drink raki all day. But he was very pleasantly surprised to find out it's more of an English tea room in a sense. It's my style is more eclectic. I do have raki, for example, but it's more about other things. And actually, I have a Greek doctor who comes, Lefteris, who comes when he can from Hania to sit, and he always calls his friends, and he'll say, "I'm sitting in a tea room drinking Earl Grey tea and eating cake," and this is really sweet. Yeah, but I moved in. I'd moved in, I think, the beginning of June that year, and I lived here for 2 months. I actually lived in the storage room for the first year until I could find accommodation in the next village. But I'd moved in, and I had no electric for the first few weeks, and then I had one power, one socket, so everything literally was done by hand, up ladders with brushes and things like this. And yeah, it was tons of work to get it ready. It was full of clutter and furniture with woodworm, which the old guy was going, "Ah, keep it, it's Orea," and I was going, "Burn it, burn it, Zaki, put it on the Zaki." And in this time also, I had to collect a lot of things. I used what I could find. I collected things over the years. I love flea markets, and in Munich especially, they're quite special. And so, these cups and things that you see behind me were all collected from flea markets. And I also like to paint and do art. So, yeah, you'll see on my Facebook page that it's quite eclectic, my style. So it's always evolving. It's always growing. Yeah.
Fantastic, and I guess it's a good chance just to remind everybody that you can find the Solasta Cafe on Facebook if you want to go and have a little look in more detail and find where Kezia is based, and maybe when we get a chance to get over there and visit the island again in more sane times, should we say, then people should come look you
Yeah.
up and have a cup of tea with you. Absolutely. Is there any advice you would give people, Kezia, if they're thinking about taking on this journey that you have of starting a business there? Is there anything you've learned along the way that you would give people a piece of advice to say, do this or don't do that, or this is a good idea?
I think it depends on the kind of business that people are looking for. They should look at the skills that they have. If they've never worked in a bar, then opening a bar here might not be the most sensible thing, unless they have the money behind them that they can employ a manager, for example. I mean, my background gave me the skills that I need here, so this is useful. But I think ultimately my advice probably would be to look for a business that's already established, to buy into this. You will still need to pay rent on the premises. It's not it's unusual to buy a business with the property itself. It's very unusual. So maybe to look at that somebody else has done all the graft, in a sense, that you've got the customer base is there, the paperwork's up and running. There's so much bureaucracy, it's nuts. So this would save a lot of time and stress. Yeah, get a good accountant is important also. and to do something that brings you joy. I enjoyed running the cafe. It's exhausting sometimes, but it's a good exhausting, and yeah, it brings me joy. So that would be my advice, I think, to look into these things. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm guessing, well, through your years of being a resident of Crete, that you've got some tips. I'm hoping you've got some tips for people watching, and maybe of things to do or places that you would advise them to go. Have you got somewhere specific in Crete that's dear to your heart or is special to you, or you advise people to go to if they're visiting the island?
Well, most of the time I've been here, I've really been in the Rethymno direction. There's so many beautiful areas here. But I think one of my favorite places is Eleftheria. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that quite right. It's Arcadi Monastery direction. It's kind of in the middle of the island, so to speak. So I think this is very beautiful, and I love anything ancient. So Knossos kind of I found a little bit boring, to be honest, a little bit too sanitized. Eleftheria to me is much more interesting, and you have the freedom there to really look around and go into the huge cisternas where they kept water and so on. Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. There's beautiful beaches, gorges. Each area seems so different from the other. So if you're coming, then give yourself plenty of time. I think most people, especially when I was doing that Airbnb for that summer, people would come for a week or perhaps to me for 3 days even, and say, oh, we want to go here and we want to go there. And I'd be like, it's going to take you 5 hours to drive there. Are you crazy? So yeah, just the internet's fantastic just to look, go on forums, have a look this way. Hania is a beautiful city. Rethymno is a beautiful city. Heraklion I don't know so well. I love the south coast. It wouldn't be somewhere I'd want to live, particularly because of the wind factor. It's a very windy area, but it is stunning. Yeah. It depends on what you like. I like nature. I'm looking at having a horse again here. Hopefully, I'll have the time to do this as well as running the cafe. Yeah, I'm not really a beach girl. I get really bored on the beach. I prefer the beaches in the winter when they're empty and walk the dogs and ride the horse. Do this. Yeah.
Yeah, Eleftheria is an interesting one. I visited there about 18 months ago, and they've just built a new museum. I don't know if you've been there, Kezia, but they've just built a new museum up there. And there's some links emerging out of that part of that what was I think a town or a city or a settlement for over several different civilizations. There's some links cropping up there to Achilles. I think from what I was seeing and reading at the time it's an ongoing and evolving site. I think from what I know of.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I haven't been there for a couple of years. I will try and get back there again to see how that's changed. Yeah, I mean it's huge. It's really a very big site, and they're talking about 30,000 people estimated to have lived there, and also the links between Knossos and Aptera which is now my end here. It's very interesting history behind it, I think, and the museum was lovely to see when I first went. I was like, wow, all this came from here. Yeah. It's a nice place. It's nice that you've been there then. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It takes quite a bit of walking though, Kezia. The museum's fantastic and very modern and new, and then you kind of sort of wander down the hill into what was the ancient town itself, and it's quite well spread out. And I think you've got to be prepared to sort of have a good walk up and down some hills and through some undergrowth
Yeah.
and stuff, which makes it more of a rustic and more of a, like you said, more of a novel an authentic experience than Knossos, which is very touristic, really, in its creation.
Yeah.
Albeit, obviously, it's a very important site, and it's certainly somewhere personally I would advise people to go if they've never been to Crete before. It is quite established and much, whereas Eleftherin I think is much more kind of rustic. So it's yeah, it's a great. I thoroughly enjoyed my day there. It was fascinating, and like you, I like history as well. So I was absolutely in my element.
Mm-hmm.
So let's have a quick chat again about the Solasta Cafe then. So tell people where they can find your cafe and where they can come and find you for a drink on the 1st of June once you can get going again.
Okay, you can find my cafe details. I'm on TripAdvisor, Solasta Cafe. I'm also on Google Maps. I have a website which I need to update, and I'm on Facebook. So if you just Google Solasta Cafe, I think there's a Cafe Solasta in India somewhere, but
Oh,
this is not me. So you'll find me on Crete, but Solasta Cafe Litzarda. It's by Vamos, very close to Vamos. And you'll find all my details there. I'll have to, before I open again on the 1st, I'll have to work out again my summer hours, but I'll be looking, I think, at opening 5 days a week, probably closing on a Monday and Tuesday. But that's still to be decided. I kind of found last year that it was quite difficult to have so many months where really I didn't have a day off, and this would give me a day off, and so hopefully I'll not burn out. I'll be able to keep going onwards with this. So yeah, the hours will be there. I tend not to be open in the evenings, but what I might do is a kind of pop-up food evening, which I have done occasionally. Here, most of my food is not Greek. There are so many wonderful Greek tavernas and restaurants that it didn't make sense for me to jump in and offer this. I wanted to offer something that was a little bit different. So, for example, in the winter, I'll do a pie and mash night. It's kind of a 3-course meal, and I tend to cook like it's for friends and family. So this is kind of the way I do it, and it's a kind of smaller scale, but more kind of gourmet, I think. I'm very different from the Cretan cooking in that I use a lot of butter and cream and things like that. It's not so good for our cholesterol, but a little bit of everything is good for you, I think. So my belief. So yeah, this is my style. But you'll find more of this on my Facebook page and comments and so on. I do my favorite thing really is baking cakes and desserts. I don't mind cooking, but for sure I prefer to make cakes. It's my thing. And of course I offer coffees and cappuccinos and all kinds of coffees and some drinks and yeah, the usual menu.
Just a question springing to mind. Obviously, you're in a village there. Do the locals partake? Are they intrigued by your offering? Is obviously something a little bit different for them? Do you find a lot of the locals are enjoying your experience?
Not so much in the village. Yeah, there are a couple in the village who will come from the Greek community. I get Greeks coming from other areas, like Hania, for example, or Rethymno, who will drive here to come. The Greeks who come tend to come in large groups, which is great, but a little bit but it's good. Yeah, they tend to be younger, I think, or kind of like our age. Yeah, civil engineers, musicians, you name it. But it's Greeks like this who are coming. Not so much the families in the village, because although they accept me and they like me generally. I have had some issues here, but nothing that I can't deal with. And I've lived here many years, so I know how this works. But yeah, they love what I'm doing in the village, but they tend to they you know Greece yourself, you know Crete. So families tend to go to families. They meet each other this way. In August, July and August, when more Greeks come over from the mainland, from Athens and so on, then I'm really quite busy with Greek people coming in, and they like the cafe. So this is nice. But the winter time, no. The children sit outside and use my Wi-Fi. So, but this is nice.
So do you have winter hours? Because do you open at any point during the winter, or do you close?
I do open in the winter. Yeah, I'm open 4 days a week in the winter. Well, I'm actually open one night for the pie and mash night, and the other days are daytime, like weekend. So there's no point in me opening at this point all week. I kind of tried these hours at the beginning, but I was sitting around for a long time, and I wasn't established enough that people knew me. And yeah, I'm quite far. I'm not so far, but I'm far enough away from places like Plaka, Almerida, which isn't very far. It's maybe 15, 20 minutes by car. But a lot of my customers are older and don't want to drive in the dark. So it kind of didn't make sense for me to, unless I've got an event on. I do have, as a cafe's evolved, there has been more musicians and artists coming, and this has been wonderful to see how this is. It's really nothing to do with me. It's kind of what people want to create the space for themselves. So they've come, and it's become a more of a kind of art and cultural centre, especially Sundays when musicians have had the time to come. And I don't have a music license, so I don't do music as such. But these guys come, and they come with the guitars and the Greek instruments and so on. And yeah, they just kind of jam with each other and play their own music, and so this is really nice. I enjoy this. It brings a really nice atmosphere and really eclectic people that are coming, Dutch, Germans, Greeks, English, Scottish. There doesn't seem to be so many Scots here, but I'll find them. But yeah, this is the cafe style. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds great, and it sounds very organic in that you've got people come in to play music and whatever, but it's all very organic and natural. It's not planned. It's kind of spontaneous by the sound of it.
Very much. Yeah, very much. I see that it will evolve this way. I'm quite stubborn in that I don't, I see how I want it to be. I don't, like I chose not to do Greek food or Greek decor and so on, and certainly not Greek hours. Initially, in the village, the Greeks were saying you should open at 7 in the morning and you should finish at 12. And I said, when would I sleep? I work everything on my own, and I don't drive, so this is kind of complicated also. But yeah, it was really a new kind of thing for them to see. I would say, no, I want to work smart, not hard. And I do work hard, but I didn't want to do the Greek hours in the sense of I'm open all the time. And the old Cafe Neons, they were really just an extension of someone's sitting room. And so, they were happy for people to come and sit there till 4 in the morning or whatever, which is not unusual in the summertime. So I kind of do it my way, but they kind of understand better now how I'm doing it, and they enjoy me being part of the village. And as you say, it's kind of no longer, although there's the pizza place and there's the English supermarket, it's more of we have a platea here. It's more used now for, they can come, they can sit, they can have coffee and cake or food and so on. Yeah, they like what I've done, mostly.
Fantastic. Couple of quick ones. Ilona, good morning to you. Thanks for joining. And Jeff as well is joining from West Lothian, Kezia, and he's saying good morning. So there's a Scott for you this morning as well with us together. Kezia, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning. Congratulations on Solasta Cafe. It sounds like a fantastic place to pop and have a drink and a piece of cake and maybe listen to some spontaneous music that's going on. It sounds like a real interesting and a place with a natural atmosphere there you've created. So fantastic. And next time I'm down that end of the island, I'll certainly pop in and have a cup of tea with you and say hi too. It sounds like somewhere that certainly be great to pop in and visit. Again, thanks ever so much for joining us this morning. I know this is a subject that a lot of people are fascinated in talking about, and all power to you for taking that plunge and living that dream, as it were, making it a reality. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. So
you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. And of course, like I say, you can catch Kezia and her Solasta Cafe on Facebook. You've also got a website as well, so it'd be worth going and having a look and just checking it out. And next time you're down that part of the island, popping in and saying hi. Thanks ever so much again, Kezia. That's it from us this morning. Take care and see you again soon. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.